So today we're going to talk a little bit about what a systemic constellation is, what a family constellation is, and what a Kemetic constellation is. Okay, so we're going to start first off with um, the person who brought us this methodology through time. Okay, which would be Bert Hellinger. He was a German man, um, born in a time not too long ago. Um, you know, was born during the time of Nazi Germany, and we all know all of the things going on around that time. Um, he, at some point, becomes a missionary, and he takes a trip to South Africa, where he works as a missionary for quite a while. While he was there, he witnessed a lot of different indigenous practices that people used as forms of therapy to treat different types of issues related to mental health within the indigenous South African community. Um, when he makes his way finally back to Germany, he essentially has a new outlook on things. And he begins to dive deeper into the world of therapy, psychology, and the Western version of the things that he was seeing in South Africa. As he begins to pair the two, and also bring in elements from Eastern philosophies as well, um, the family constellation system is born. Um, as far as the system is concerned, what Bert Hellinger essentially did was, once he was able to connect to what in these systems we call the field, the morphogenetic field, he was able to notice certain patterns, certain types of interactions that would happen, and what they would be indicators of as far as putting people into a space where the person who is looking to treat a specific issue is on one side, and there are different representatives of actual people, but representing, your mother, your father, brother, sister, cousin, co-workers, boss, etc. And you would put them into this space, and by facilitating the messages of this field, Bert Hellinger was able to show how the behavior that was taking place in front of them represented the family dynamic and what is going on a psychological level within the person whose issue is being treated, right? So this system is based on understanding the family dynamic particularly as it relates to the Western family dynamic, which is obviously going to be different from other dynamics as well. Um, so out of this, as people began to study and learn from the different books he wrote about these family constellations, as well as the people who participated in these constellations, and were participants, and also studied closely with him. He didn't actually create any real institution, so there is no one who can really claim ownership over the methodologies. It's really important to note that, because that allows it to be free, and for major institutions to not become authority figures over therapeutic practices that benefit humanity in general, right? So as these people began to do their own family constellations, and they began to work and travel and meet with other people, they eventually started having students who broke out and started using other systems that worked better for them in particular. Um, you know, there's constellations related to planets and astrology, using this the Greek, the African, Egyptian slash Greek, um, astrological system. There's people that have developed, other systems to also facilitate the messages of the field. Okay. When I started getting into therapy, when I started getting into, meditation and self-care and spirituality and these types of practices, what I noticed was that there were certain systems that spoke, you know, to my heart, namely the Asarian system, which is based on the one of the ancient Egyptian Kemetic spiritual systems that existed, and there's a really good book about this. There's actually a good series about this by Raul Neframen called Medu Neter, Volume 1 through 7. And as I began to study and use this system, which was around the same time I was learning about these constellations, and I began to notice that through this new system, this Osirian system, we were able to go beyond, you know, certain blockages that I would find with the family dynamic, where certain people have issues, or they may have, strong issues with a parental figure. They might have strong issues with, particular people, and it's really hard to separate from the ego so that the medicine can work. So, there will be blockages. A lot of times the neuro linguistic programming part, where you're telling them, okay, well, now we have to honor and love this being that maybe you associate with some type of, damage. With the Asarian system, we're looking at the metaphysical, the governors of the different metaphysical dimensions of reality, right? Which are the neteru, the neter, the forces of nature, in the Kemetic spiritual systems. And with this new well, not with this new system, but with this Osirian system, we're able to redefine what it is our relationship is with the individuals and this human life, this human experience that we're living. Oh, it's starting to get windy here. That's nature right there. And what happens is now your boss is not just your boss. Your boss is actually here to teach you some sort of lesson, or help you awaken some aspect of your metaphysical being. Okay, your parent, your mother, your father, sister, brother are not just these individuals that are boxed in by your ego. There's a bigger message being played out in front of you, and through using this system and facilitating the field, you discover very profound things in your dynamic, and it helps kind of invert the attention and helps the people look within themselves so that they realize that they can no longer continue being victims of these patterns that are playing out in their lives. So the Kemetic system offers a lot more of a well-rounded understanding of what's going on. There's also other, methods for helping to reprogram the mind, namely through chanting, through meditation, through symbolism, through meditation. We are able to access things that are in the nonverbal mind, which is the deeper aspect of the mind, because it's a lot more difficult to intellectualize, and there's a lot of mental traps that we put on the verbal side of our mind. So when we do chanting, when we are meditating, doing visualization, symbols, we're able to get a lot deeper into, um, you know, the issues, the root issues, and thereby come up with a better plan for a cure. Okay, and it also empowers us. Okay, so this is gonna be this is my first video related to Kemetic constellations. If anybody is interested in learning more, go ahead and drop me a message. But I'll definitely be talking more about this in the future. So you guys don't worry about that. I'm gonna get out of here. Peace and love. One.